I am here with Linda Block, who is a lifelong horsewoman, and she is here to share some of her experiences with us. Welcome, Linda. Thank you for being here today. When did you first start riding?
I first started riding when I was 5 years old. I rode at a riding academy in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I rode a horse named Lucky. And I was trained by a retired German riding cavalry officer, Mr. von Bredow. And I'll never forget my first training experience with him. I was finally able to be off the lead line when he asked me to walk the horse off and do some figure eights. When I gave her the signal to go forward, and she bit me in the toe. And of course, I started crying. So Mr. von Bredow came over and asked me what the problem was and why I couldn't get the horse moving. And of course, I'm crying, and I said, "She's biting me in the foot." And he says to me in his own little way, "When the horse comes around and bites the foot, you kick the horse in the nose." And I did, and she stopped. But that was my first lesson in training a horse. In the old days, that's the way we trained horses. And I repeatedly rode this horse, and of course, I felt bad that I had to kick her in the nose. And now we have different methods available to us.
And that's all our first experiences.
Yes.
I call it an old school
Yes.
way of training.
Yes.
Force.
Yes, discomfort and force.
So you evolved, and you are a lifelong learner. You love to learn.
Yes.
You keep educating yourself.
Continually, with books, videos, constantly. I have a library.
So you said you started showing professionally at age 16.
Yes.
And what breeds were you working with at that time?
At the quarter horse circuit. My father broke down and finally bought me a quarter horse from a friend. Yes.
And how long did you do that?
For about 15 years, I showed the quarter horse circuit. Mm-hmm.
And then you moved on to...
I had an opportunity with one of the gals in the barn that had an Arabian, a purebred Arab, and I liked the versatility. It rode English and Western and driving and costume. And I started riding the horse for this lady, and one thing led to another, and I started showing it, and I ended up, the next horse I bought was a purebred Arab.
And how did you evolve out of the Arabian industry then?
Well, I started taking dressage and lessons, actually, from you. I had purchased a thoroughbred from off the track who was quite the challenge. And actually this is the horse that really started to change my training methods. You couldn't do it by force. You had to work around things because he just couldn't process force. And through the years of working that horse, which took about 4 years, I was successful, and I showed him dressage. In fact, he was so good that my niece ended up learning to ride on him, and also showed him at some of the big dressage shows here in Wisconsin.
And then after that horse?
Then I bought another young, a warm blood at 15 months, when I presently still have that horse, Primo. And Primo I use the same techniques that I learned, or I should say refined with the thoroughbred. And Primo has been everybody loves this horse. He's so sweet, he's so giving, he always does 100%, and he's so well-mannered because he's never gotten beaten or slapped or any of these things.
So now with Primo, you moved into driving.
Yes, the sport of carriage driving. And that involves, we do pleasure shows with him, and we also do combined driving, CDEs, which is dressage-based, and then we do the marathon course with the obstacles, and then the next day we do timed cones, like 26 sets of cones, and the horse has to be speedy and agile and very obedient.
Now, you were also featured in the Smart Pack magazine.
Yes,
with Primo.
Yes, I was. Yes, mm-hmm. I taught Lydia Gray, their Smart Pack veterinarian, her horse to drive, and in a somewhat unconventional method. I didn't have the horse in training every day. I would go travel down to Illinois, and I would work with Lydia and the horse every weekend.
Okay.
And one thing led to, and the horse, of course, was very amenable to the training, and he turned out to be an excellent horse. And he still drives and competes today.
What impresses me when I've watched you drive your horses is that they are working over their backs as they would a good dressage horse would, and they're bending through their rib cages. So they're beautiful to watch as you drive them. So I appreciate the skills that you have in driving horses. Because you're a lifelong learner, we share ideas with each other, and one day you came to the barn to visit me, and I had recently started using clicker training, and I was demonstrating to you what I had done with that, and then you went back and we hadn't talked for a couple months, and then all of a sudden you said, hey, I had this really difficult horse, and I started using clicker training, and it was fantastic. So can you share that story with us?
Sure, absolutely. Every driving horse has one issue, it seems. Either, they're not used to the blinders, they're not used to, pulling or something. This particular horse, a German riding pony, was deathly afraid of, I work with some poles along the side of the horse, and I've rubbed it and I've done all the conventional things so she wouldn't be nervous about it.
So that's how you start a horse.
Yes.
You do simulations before you even hook them up to a cart.
Step by step. Yes, I don't skip any steps because there's a hole there. So anyway, she just would launch in the air. I mean, just could not. And this is without blinders. This is, open bridle. They can see. But she just was not coming along with this. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, we got a major issue here. And not that she was ever hurt with the pole or, the training pole or anything, because this is going to simulate the shafts when she gets hitched. So I had to get through that. And I spent several weeks doing that unsuccessfully.
Just dragging the pole next to her.
Dragging the pole next to her.
And trying to get her to get used to it.
Correct. Dragging the pole and also rubbing her with the pole. Yes, absolutely. Was not going well. And just had not made any progress. And that's when you and I reconnected, and you talked about clicker training. I came over. And from that day on, I started using the clicker training techniques. And it was, in 4 days, I had the mare hitched to the cart.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's what I thought, exactly. Amazing. Whoa, I'm sold. Yes. With this clicker training, I wish I would have discovered this years ago, ages ago. It made such a difference in my training. And I continue to use it today, all the time. Even with my own personal horse, Primo, who I've trained since he's now going to be 18 this year. And it would have made a huge difference on some things.
Such as?
When I started working Cavaletti with him, he really hit one of the poles once. And it really spooked him. He was only maybe 2 years old at the time. And that made him very shy of Cavaletti and also anything else he had to step over. So little by little, I had to, I only went back down to one pole on the ground, nothing raised. And I usually start them out on the ground. The next step, I go with one Cavaletti, low on the ground, and I progress all the way till the Cavalettis are in a full top position, about 12 to 18 inches. And he really had issues with that. Even when he got older, when there was something to step over, he was always a little spooked on that. And now I've been working him with the clicker training method, and he doesn't seem to have issues with that anymore.
So old horses can learn new tricks.
Absolutely.
Because what the click does and the treat is the horse finds some value for himself in the activity.
Absolutely, yes. It really works.
And you would say that giving treats actually has reduced your training time by increasing motivation and understanding on the horse's part.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's almost like a miracle. When you have a treat that they really like, which the Nickernickels really, they love those, and you can break them in smaller sections, so you do get a lot of value for your money. They love those Nickernickels. it works great. It's better than chopping carrots any day.
Linda, thank you for sharing your stories with us today, and it's so wonderful to hear your success stories, and I wish you continued luck.
Well, thank you very much for having me.